Interest only or capital repayment mortgages? What do we go for as property investors? You know, the pros and cons, what are they, and so on. Now, if you've done your research, if you've read, blogs, articles, trade magazines, been on courses, seminars, you'll know that 99.9% of property investors, not accidental landlords, property investors have all of their mortgages on interest only rather than capital repayment and so on. So now, obviously, like everything in property investing and like everything in business, you're always looking at the pros and cons for it. So, quick video really now. Why are our mortgages in our portfolio on interest only? And again, why are most property investors who have mortgages on interest only? There's numerous reasons, but the main one is really it's an increase in cash flow each month for each particular property. And the big one really is there. Obviously, as a result of that, you've got lower monthly payments compared to your capital repayment one. But the big one is, if you're starting to understand and hopefully you know about inflation and so on, inflation over a long period is going to end up paying down your mortgage balance. So let's say, for instance, now one a property, £100,000, we put down £25,000 deposit on it, and so we've got a loan there of £75,000 per calendar month, £75,000 loan to value. So there's 75,000 there. Now, I know that in 30 years' time or 20 years' time, that £75,000 will have a lot less buying power. It won't be worth as much because of inflation. Inflation will have eroded it away. So £75,000 now, if you had it in your savings, will get you far more now than it will do in 15, 20, 25 years. So a good example about this is, because I always ask, the older generation, I know if there's any 20, 30-year-olds watching this, I know I'm older than you, but it's always good to ask the older generation. So I'll ask like 60, 70, 80-year-olds whenever I get the opportunity. Obviously not just randomly on the street, but grandparents on, how much did you pay for your first house? My granddad paid £3,260 for his first house. Now, houses on that street, I know now are going from anywhere from 180, shabby condition, haven't had a refurb, haven't had a new roof or anything like that, all the way up to 250 and upwards. So you've got to ask yourself now, imagine if, and it wasn't available then though, imagine if in 1973-ish, 72, 73, you could put your mortgage on interest only, which would then have meant that you'd have more money each month to obviously put towards whatever you want, hopefully investing. And then at the end of that period, obviously then be able to pay off at the time £3,000 or whatever it was. Now, would you agree that £3,000 in 1973 was worth a lot more? You could buy a lot more than you could have done 20 years later in 1993, or even 25 years later, 1995, 1998, and so on. So if my years are a little bit out there, but it's a principle I want you to understand. So have a look at inflation, do a little bit of research, and again, you'll understand how it's towards a property investor's best interest to put them on your properties on an interest only mortgage. Now, accidental landlords, the ones that move up and then purchase another house and then decide to rent out their existing house or vice versa, they tend to, and again, it's a broad statement really, keep the mortgage payments on capital repayment, which means that you're always chipping away at the existing loan amount. But it doesn't happen in equal fashion. So your loan amount doesn't just drop down equally each year. What'll happen is the mortgage lenders will always front load it, if you like. The mortgage lenders will always ask for lots of interest over the first few years, and then obviously towards the end of the mortgage, that's when you'll start to pay off the loan, the capital amount. So, as a property investor myself with a reasonable portfolio, I would always suggest, and I suggest this to my mentees, but again, it's ultimately down to themselves, put your mortgages, especially if you're in the buy and hold forever category, put your mortgages on interest only, let inflation do its work 10, 15, 20 years down the line. You'll be grateful, and especially if the cash flowing now at the moment, make sure that you're utilizing that cash flow. What a lot of people do is, and again, ultimately it's down to every individual. What I wouldn't do is think, right, interest rates are fantastic at the moment, I'm getting this surplus money, let's just go out and spend it all. Of course money's there to be spent, but make sure that you're always looking, right, I need to continually invest this, continually invest it, because if you're in it for the long run like we are, you'll be grateful for it in 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So again, if anybody's seen any of the videos that I put out before, one of the first properties we purchased was in 2007. We purchased it for 60,000, did everything wrong, didn't negotiate on price, gave full asking price, crazy stuff. And then, or now should I say, it's upwards of 120. So we had it valued last year at easily 120, and on the street now they're going for about 125, 130. What's that going to be like in 10 years' time, and so on. So yeah, go for capital repayment if, you'll be able to sleep better at night. But from a business point of view, it's always better to go for an interest only payment, because it reduces the amount of mortgage that you need to pay each month, which obviously then increases your cash flow each month, which hopefully you should be then starting to reinvest in other things. But good luck. I hope that helped people. Subscribe to this channel. We put out a couple of property videos. There's quite a few property videos on here. Put out videos on mindset, business, wealth. Yeah, take care. Keep looking after yourself, but keep taking steps further forward. And if you do need any help, then obviously just have a look at dervishmentoring.com. Take care. All the best.